Hey there, guys. We are back with Braden's Wrestling Opinions Podcast, Episode 2. If you have not seen Episode 1, go back and watch it. And we had a long agenda there, and I think today's agenda is even longer. We have a huge paper full of things that we are going to talk about. Like I said in the past video, we are going to try and get these things out as soon as possible. But I can't do these on like a weekly basis just because it's hard to take this amount of time out of my day. But let's get into it. Stop talking about random stuff. First up, what does the future hold with Camille in AEW? And should she have come to the WWE? As we know, Camille, former NWA Women's Champion, she was very, very good there. I mean, honestly, she was fairly good in the ring. But the main thing was her charisma. She had a lot of charisma. She had this nice build. And that means a lot in today's wrestling. If you have a nice build, usually they go far. Definitely like when Vince McMahon was over the WWE. Anybody that had a nice build, he was going to push. That's just how it was at that time period. Omos, people like that. Now it doesn't quite matter as much. Triple H isn't like, if you're small, you're not going to get pushed. He's not like that. He's giving these smaller people opportunities. But Camille, they call her Camille Brickhouse. I mean, she's just very, very good. I don't really know how else to express it. There's a reason why she held that NWA Women's Champion for forever. It seemed like she was never going to lose that thing. And what does the future hold with her in AEW? I think they will let her shine. Honestly, I really do. I think they'll let her do some good things. I don't know if they're going to let her be a champion. They'll probably show her on a weekly basis, because they have a lot of people in that women's division. But like when it comes to top stars in the women's division, it's starting to become slim. A lot of them are hanging out in ROH. There's people, it's becoming slim. And so I think there's enough room for her to work. But I feel like she won't ever be able to do something spectacular like I believe she would be able to do in WWE. I feel like she just has that look to her. She has that champion look to her. That's why she held the NWA Women's Champion for so long. She has that champion look to her. So I think she would do good. That kind of answers my question. Should she have come to the WWE? I believe so. If she came to the WWE, I would have put her in NXT because she's good and she was a women's world champion. But NWA isn't quite a big enough brand for them to just throw into the Royal Rumble like they did Jade Cargill and everybody go crazy. More than half the people are not going to know who she is. But she is good. So send her down to NXT. Let her build up her name. Some people recognize her. She'll get some nice pops. I think she would do good. All right. Question number 2. Is Liv Morgan main event worthy? What type of push does she deserve? Now that we kind of talked about it on the last podcast about who, I got the script right here. We'll look at the question that we went over. What was it? Where was it? My opinions on Liv Morgan as mommy thing. If Dom and Liv team together, will it last long? We were kind of talking about Liv Morgan and how I don't see her as this top name. I just can't see it. I never have. When she was World Women's Champion, I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. I don't think she has the in-ring talent of a lot of the other women, like these younger stars that need to shine, but they're just being held back because they can't get a spot. They're just more talented than her. She doesn't have the in-ring talent. Just no. And then she had her DUI and stuff. She really didn't get much punished for that. Now they're putting her in. So that really doesn't make much sense in my opinion. I try and stay out of like the whole laws and stuff, like the police things and all that kind of stuff. I don't like talking about it here on the show, but it is something you have to consider. Is she main event worthy? Yes, but no. She can put on a good storyline. I think she can put on a good storyline. But with the type of talent that is coming into the WWE, you got these new names coming up, these younger generation people like Tiffany Stratton. They can put on great storylines. That's the difference. So why would you have her at the top when she's not there? That's my point. What type of push does she deserve? I believe if they were to bring a mid-card women's championship to the main roster, of course, we know we're going to talk about it here later, actually, about the mid-card title in the NXT for the women. I think that was a great idea, but it would also be nice on the main roster. I feel like that would be kind of Liv Morgan territory. I just don't, that's not going to, like, you'd be like, who's the WWE Women's Champion? You know, just talking to like a regular fan, doesn't really watch it that much. Oh, Liv Morgan. Is it going to get them excited? I don't think so. All right. Well, speaking of that, that's actually next on the agenda. What's my opinion on the women's mid-card title and who should be in the division or who should be holding it? My opinion on it, I think it's good. You have a lot of rising women's stars like Jada Parker. She's kind of one that's been standing out to me recently. She's very, very good. Of course, you know, got my girl Thea Hale. She's got to be in there somewhere. But what's my opinion on it? I think it's going to be great. It's going to give these younger talent more and more opportunities because there's a lot of people there that aren't quite women's title ready. But if there's something lower, they're probably ready for that. And so I think it'll be a nice kind of booster. That's kind of people like Fallon Henley is who comes to mind when I think of people not quite ready for the women's title, but a mid-card women's title, that's more of their alley. That's kind of how I see that. And so I think it's going to do very good for the NXT as a whole. Because, I mean, NXT has lost a lot of talent recently. And so they're really bringing down people like Meechin and people like that to help out these divisions. So it's been kind of weird having people like the Final Testament and stuff. And we're actually going to get into kind of people coming down to NXT later. But I think it's going to do, who should be holding it? I'm going to be biased. I mean, I'm going to say Thea Hale. Thea Hale makes sense for the division. You got people like Thea Hale, Lash Legend. I've already named a few of them. But Jada Parker, Fallon Henley. Let's see. JC Jane. Gigi Dolan. Where has Gigi Dolan been? I feel like she's one that could go for the actual women's champion. But where's she been? I don't know. She's been shown a few times, but nothing important, really. And so, all right. We'll leave that at that right now. But I think NXT Women's Mid-Card title, great idea. It's going to give a lot more opportunities to these younger women. All right, next up. We've now seen people like Final Testament, the OC, Meechin, Natalya, and many more go down to the NXT brand. Is it a good idea to send main roster people down there? Who else should be sent down to the NXT? I think it's good. If you're up here being irrelevant, Meechin's one of my... When she got signed by the WWE, I was really excited because I've been a fan of her since she was on the Indies when she went by the name Jade. That was her indie name. And so I was very excited when she was signed in. She hasn't done much of anything. Name a memorable thing that she did. It wasn't reckoning when she was teaming up with the, what were they called? Oh my gosh. Well, that's how relevant they were. She teamed up with Mustafa Ali, T-Bar, and Slapjack. What was it? Now this is going to bug me. All right, well, let's move on. But yeah, she needs to get more opportunities. She's given some screen time, but it's never anything that's going to put her into relevancy. Natalya is down there to help out younger talent. The OC haven't been working on the main roster. I don't know why. The Final Testament, not working. I don't know what is with Karrion Kross. I love Karrion Kross. He's a great in-ring performer. One of the best storytellers in the WWE right now. Anything he does, the fans don't care. I don't understand. So put him down in NXT. Maybe that will help him. So is it a good idea? To an extent, yes. If NXT, I think it also has to do because NXT is losing all these names. They have to have people to fill that void because NXT has been a very, very good show. And I don't want it to decline just because they're taking all the main people away. I mean, Ilya, he's been one of the main guys. Braun Breaker has been leading NXT while they're being the greatest brand. Carmelo Hayes, and then you're losing Tiffy, Lyra Valkyria, Blair Davenport. A lot of people are moving up. And so, who else should be sent down? But I'm going to go ahead and answer. Is it a good idea to send people down if they are being not properly used on the main roster? Yes, you should send them down. Let them get some kind of screen time, because nobody's watching WWE main event that is filmed before WWE SmackDown. Nobody's watching that. Who else should be sent down to NXT? I have a few written down. Cedric Alexander. This is one that I am a huge fan of. He's from near my area, and I've been a fan of his since when he started. When he teamed up with Caprice Coleman from ROH. That's who he teamed up with right when he first started. I've been a fan of his since then. He's was doing great, actually, when he was with the Hurt Business. I really love the Hurt Business. It gave Shelton Benjamin something to do. It gave Cedric something to do. And it really helped put Bobby Lashley over. I mean, it was just very, very good. So I think Cedric would do very good down there. He's a very talented guy. He could go after the North American Championship. Next up, you have Ashante Adonis. He was in Hit Row. I mean, I wrote him down, but release the guy. I'm sorry, but just release the guy. He's talented, but you can't just be kind of talented. You have to be very, very good. You have to have some charisma. You just have to shine. You have to have something about you that people want to see. He just doesn't. He's just not that guy, in my opinion. I think he will be released soon. I really thought he was going to get released when they had that big old wave of releases with Drew Gulak and stuff. I thought he was going to be one of them. But, I mean, if he came down, maybe he has something that we're not being able to see. Maybe he's being held back by the main roster. Next up, Akira Tozawa. And I put Maxine Dupree on here. And I didn't put him on here, but you could throw Otis into that. Because where are they going to go? When Chad Gable is done with them, when they have their cool storyline, where are they going to go? Akira Tozawa, what good has he done like before he got with Alpha Academy? He's kind of just joking around a lot. He's very talented. I feel like he deserves more. And so, send him down. Otis, you got to send Maxine down. Maxine Dupree, I understand she came up because she kind of got over. It was cool. She's the trainee. But that's what she needs. She needs to be training, because her in-ring work is, oh my Lord. She probably had one of the worst performances out of the Women's Royal Rumble this year. She can't go with anybody. She just botches this. Just basic moves she can't do. And I'm not even saying this to, like, bad about her. It's not her fault. She barely ever wrestled, and all of a sudden, they just threw her in the deep end. She was a valet, or whatever you want to call it. When the Maximum Male Models, she was there, standing there. She was kind of leading them or whatever. She wasn't a wrestler. And then now he was training her to wrestle, and she was just thrown in. So, very unexperienced, and it shows. I promise you, it shows. But I don't. Otis, he always finds a way to make himself relevant. That's the good thing about Otis. He's always doing something funny. He's not a guy we're going to take serious. Otis just isn't that kind of guy. He's not going to be this guy that we're ever going to see holding a world title. But he's this guy that sure is going to make us laugh and have some great moments. He's going to stay relevant. You really don't have to send him down. But if you want to keep him and Tozawa together, send them both down. Next up, Ivy Nile. And now the Creed brothers, don't send the Creed brothers back down. The Creed brothers are very main roster ready. They were ready. Ivy Nile, I don't think it was. Ivy Nile is very talented. She's got that nice look to her, but she's very green, I guess. When she gets into these big matches against big names, I guess she gets nervous or something. That's just what it seems to me. When she had her match versus Rhea Ripley, she had her match versus a few different people. She's just botching different moves. She's slipping. She goes to pick somebody up. She drops them. And it's very noticeable. It's very, very noticeable. And if you're you don't want the fans to really turn on you because you're so sloppy. So send her back down. The Creed brothers don't need her. They really don't. Just see what she can do by herself. Next up, you got Giovanni Vinci. And this was, we had talked about in the last one, if it was right that they broke up Imperium. And I said no, because they were a great team, but they would do a great job capitalizing on the storyline. No, they draft them to 2 different brands. So now you're telling me you're going to break up this amazing tag team and you're not even going to get a half decent storyline out of it? So this doesn't make sense. That's like saying we're going to break up DIY. We could get this amazing feud like they had down in NXT. Oh no, we're just going to put them on different brands. Don't let them get to each other. Don't let them have a great feud. That doesn't make sense. That that was horrible. When I saw that, I'm like, dude, what? Why? Horrible decision. Not very good. Next up, I'll throw them together. You got Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. They don't have main event aura. They don't have main roster aura. I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of self-explanatory to everybody. They don't seem like top stars. That's how we'll word it. Indy Hartwell, I didn't think she should have ever got called up from NXT. I know she was down there for a while and she has the in-ring work to be ready, but no charisma or no promo work. Candice LeRae is just becoming boring. She's getting age on her. Not much else to say about that. Next up, would a Bray Wyatt tribute type faction like the Wyatt Six be a good idea? I think so. I saw when Bray passed away, people were saying, I hope they don't make any feud about him, or I hope they discontinue Uncle Howdy. It's going to be messing with his legacy. But if you watch the tribute Bray Wyatt, it was on Peacock. What's it called? The Immortal Tribute or something like that. It was, that was, I literally cried. I cried. That was an amazing tribute. And it just kind of opened your eyes to say the ideas that Bray Wyatt wanted to do with Uncle Howdy, the different things. Why wouldn't they want to live that on? Bo Dallas and Bray were so close. Bo knows what Bray wanted. Make it a tribute. I don't see why they wouldn't. You're going to have those people that are going to be like, oh, this messing with his legacy. No, it's not. Did you know Bray Wyatt? No, you didn't know Bray Wyatt. Next, we're going to talk about who could be the members of it. Dexter Lumis. Where has he been? Yeah, I don't know either. We have not seen this guy in forever. So it's like they were using him, and then he kind of disappeared right when they were starting to tease Uncle Howdy. And then Bray unfortunately passed away. So it leads me to think that he was going to be a part of the storyline that Bray was going to have. But of course, the tragedy happened, and so it never happened. So now they're just kind of waiting. And so Lumis, I feel like he's kind of a lock one. If it happens, Lumis will be a part of it. Next up, probably another 100% one, Eric Rowan. Eric Rowan just got hired back to the WWE. He, of course, was in the Wyatt family, and so it all just makes sense. They tried an Eric Rowan singles run. That didn't work. Eric Rowan, he's very good, but by himself, it's not going to work. So why else would they want Eric Rowan to be back in the WWE? I think it's for a Wyatt Six type faction. Next up, you have Braun Strowman. This one, I don't know. It makes sense, of course, because he was the black sheep in the Wyatt family. Very, very close to Bray Wyatt. He would love to show tribute to a good friend. I know he would. But seems like they have other plans with him. I'm thinking he might end up having a feud with Ricochet. Ricochet's kind of teasing turning heel on Twitter. So maybe that could happen. He's already shown up. He's already returned. And he hasn't shown any hints at being Wyatt Six. So that one, maybe not. Next up, Bo Dallas. If it happens, Bo Dallas has to be in it. It just wouldn't make sense without Bo Dallas. So I think that one's almost a lock. Next up is one that I hope doesn't happen, but it probably will. You have Alexa Bliss. And Alexa Bliss, don't get me wrong, I loved Alexa Bliss with The Fiend. It was cool. And as she said in the documentary, she loved it. But you know what I love? The twisted Bliss when she was this heel on Monday Night Raw, holding the Raw Women's Champion. I mean, that was great. She was an amazing champion. I mean, she had great heels. She had this amazing charisma. She was the greatest women's wrestler going at the time. I feel like she can do more than be a part of the Wyatt Six faction. And there's another women's wrestler that could be a part of it that would make more sense, in my opinion. But we'll get to that in just a second. Next up, we have Joe Gacy. Joe Gacy has kind of been a weird one. They broke up his faction schism, and so now it's like, this guy is very good. You cannot screw this up. He has so much charisma. He's a very good character worker. He's been compared to Bray Wyatt. And so, what did they want to do with him? Did they want to give him a singles push in NXT? Doesn't seem like it. I mean, you got to give him something. And so this role would really just fit with him entirely. We were talking about a women's wrestler that could be a part of this. That's not Alexa Bliss. Nikki Cross. I mean, where's Nikki Cross been? Oh yeah, looking at the end of in the back of all these segments, just staring into space like this. And you want to talk about irrelevant? That's what I call irrelevant. She's just been in the back, not doing anything. She was amazing when she was with Sanity. She is what stuck out to a lot of people. But they kind of made her into a joke. Next up, this is kind of something I saw on Twitter. A potential returning Killian Dane. That could be very cool. Killian Dane is a very, very, very good talent. And, of course, he has that creepy role about him that he had in Sanity. So, I think it would work. But, yeah, overall, a Wyatt Six faction would be a great idea. I think it would be a good tribute. But, of course, you got to have Bo Dallas in it or it wouldn't make sense. But those are just a few names that could happen. I don't know. Shoot me some people that you think could be a part of the Wyatt Six that I didn't name off. I tried thinking more in depth of who else could happen. But, yeah. Next up was the Elite storyline with Tony Khan, the Elite, and all that. Was it booked well? We saw Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega was supposed to show up on Dynamite, and he did. He sided against the Elite. But then, yesterday, I don't know if it'll be posted. It'll be yesterday. But the latest Dynamite for me, we ended up getting Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston show up. Of course, we had already known the FTR was going to be a part of this versus Elite group. Now we get Eddie Kingston and Daniel Bryan. Did I expect more? Yes. Is it because I can't stand Eddie Kingston? Yes. I'm not a fan of Eddie Kingston. I feel like there was a lot more options that they could have went with, like a Hangman Adam Page that they could have went with, but they didn't. And I understand why Kenny Omega can, of course. I mean, he can't control his health. Like he was saying in his promo, he almost died. So all my prayers go out to Kenny Omega. But I really would have loved to see him in this feud. But I completely understand why. But I think it'll still be a good match when it happens. But I was kind of expecting more out of this feud. Next up, we're going to talk about called up NXT wrestlers and were they ready for a call up? We had kind of talked about this on the first podcast about Kiana James. Was she ready? I don't think so. Is she a great talent? Yes. But I feel like she's still a little green. She still had a lot left to do in NXT. There was some people there that were more willing or more ready than she was. So I don't think I would have called her up yet. That's why when I saw her name pop up, I was like, do what? Like, it wasn't leaked at all. They did a very good job of keeping that a secret. But I don't know. It's a very, very weird one. I feel like I'm scared that she's going to just fall into irrelevancy and not do good. Just because, I don't know. Next up, Braun Breaker. Do I need to even say this? Were they ready for a call-up? Yes, Braun Breaker has been ready for a call-up for so long. And that's why wrestling fans have been so mad. I know some people that have just been irritated with this. They have been, that's all they want to think about when WWE comes on. Why is Braun Breaker not here? And I understand. I mean, it was kind of dumb to hold it off. Right when he lost that belt, he should have been called up. They wanted to turn him heel, which I understand. But why? Why would you turn him heel right when he's at his best? And then they threw him in the tag division with Baron Corbin. That was cool. I mean, they worked very, very well together. He got to add another champion to his resume or whatever you want to say. Does he need it? No. He should have been called up right when his hype was at the top. But will he be treated well eventually? Yes. He will get his flowers. He's going to lead this company for the next, 10, 15 years? He's going to be at the top. That's the guy. Like, if I got to choose anybody to lead my company for the next few years, it's Braun Breaker. Next up, we got Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes is ready. They kind of waited a while for him. Not really. Not as long as they did Braun Breaker. He had a very good feud with Trick Williams. He's a very good in-ring performer. Not too much I can say there. He's ready. He's got a lot of charisma to him as well. Is Dijak ready? Yes. I mean, he's been on the main roster before, but it just never worked out. It didn't work out at all because we were trying to name it a while ago. It just came to me, Retribution. That was the name of the faction. Of course, he was T-Bar. That was one of the worst factions of all time, so that didn't work. But now, he's been down in NXT, and he's really built up some name value. He is now seen as a bigger name, a bigger threat. He's kind of this guy. He's like a street fighter kind of thing. People are really loving him, and I am too. I think he's going to do great on the main roster if they let him do these cool matches and stuff. I actually didn't put him on here, but we got Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin is a solidified main roster member. It's just he went down there to team up with Braun Breaker for a little bit. And I feel like this has been very, very good for Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin has struggled to find what to do on the main roster. Happy Corbin, then you got, what was it called? Poor Corbin or whatever. All that I didn't care for personally. But, yeah, he's a very talented individual. And I really wasn't that big of a fan of him ever until then he comes down to NXT and I'm like, dang, this guy is good. Like, I already knew he had really improved in the ring. When he first started, he wasn't very good in the ring. Now, he can go. Very, very good. I'm excited to see what they're going to let him do. Blair Davenport. Now, this is one that people on the internet, different podcasters I like to watch, they love her. I like her too. I just think it's crazy how many people like are amazed by her. Like, they think she is the best out of all the called up women's wrestlers. I mean, I can see where they're coming from. She is very, very good. So, I think she'll do good. Next up, you have Lyra Valkyria. And it seems to just be me. But I thought her NXT Women's Championship reign was very lackluster. Before she had it, I was one of those people that when she first started, I'm like, wow, they kind of need to push her. Show me more of her. She is very, very good. And she still is very good. Just because she had a lackluster kind of title reign doesn't mean I'm going to turn on her by any means. I'm still a huge fan of her. I just kind of wish I saw more out of her in her title reign. Next up, do I need to say anything? Ilya Dragunov. This guy, he's not going to be as good as Braun Breaker on the main roster, in my opinion. Or for what I think. But he's going to be great. He's going to be this guy. It's like, that's match of the year. Oh, next year, that's match of the year. He's going to be putting on these amazing matches. He's going to hold some world champions in his time. Ilya Dragunov, more than ready. All right, next up. Now that Ethan Page isn't with AEW, could he go to the WWE? Ethan Page is one that a lot of people really like him. I've always found him kind of bland, and then he would do some things I would find pretty interesting. So I like Ethan Page, but I don't know if he would work in the WWE. I don't think he has enough that's, like I like to say, special about him, that sticks out about him, that would help him shine in the WWE. I see him going to maybe like a TNA. We might see him on NWA Power. But I'm surprised AEW got rid of him because he was very popular with the AEW crowd. Opinions on the release of Drew Gulak and would he showing up in AEW or Impact? This is a weird one because he is getting accusations from Ronda Rousey saying he did some different things. And so that was really what got it started. And then I started reading that he has accusations of being a backstage bully. And so there's just a lot of things that are against him that I really didn't know about. I feel like I had seen something about him being a bully before, him getting accused of that, but I forgot about it. Now that this has came upon him, like, wow. So yeah, I actually wrote this out before I started seeing all this bullying and stuff. And so would he show up in AEW or Impact? Do they want him? I mean, a lot of these people, they're really clearing out these toxic backstage workers. Eva Lees, Tessa Blanchard, all these people that are great workers haven't found themselves a contract. And I think it's because of their backstage drama. So I don't know about Drew Gulak. Opinions on his release, if he's really like that, I guess he deserves it. But at first I'm like, dang, that sucks because he is a very good talent. But maybe he thinks that about himself a little too much. I don't know if I would see him in AEW. He might be an Impact guy, but like I was just saying, if he's like that, might not pick him up. Next up, let's talk about the France crowd. Oh my Lord. This is the greatest crowd I have ever heard. Have I watched every single WWE event? No, but I think this is probably the greatest crowd that we have ever seen in WWE history. They make everything look like gold, straight up gold. And if you were to turn your TV down and watch that Backlash, in my opinion, Backlash was not very good. The matches from an in-ring standpoint were not very good. Nothing really stood out, but other than, of course, the Tonga Loa debut, which was kind of interesting. We're going to get in that next, and that's going to be our last thing. But talk about the France crowd. They made everything look amazing. I feel like half of them probably didn't even know who Tonga Loa was, and they went crazy for him. Because I personally, I didn't know. I know who Tonga Loa is now because I've seen some of his matches and stuff, and I'm very happy that. But at first, when I look at him, I had no idea who that was, and I'm going to be completely honest. A lot of people don't know who that is. It took a few glances to get that. But the French crowd, everything. I mean, if Randy Orton does this, they're going crazy. If somebody goes like this, they're making it seem like somebody just jumped off the top rope and hit a 630 senton. Like, they make everything sound amazing. So it just keeps you on the edge of your seat. So yeah, what an amazing crowd. That's the good thing about these international crowds. It sucks that these American viewers have to watch it at 1 o'clock. I feel like that might drop the viewership for the USA viewers. But some of these crowds are very, very good. And the French is at the top. And this isn't on here, but I'm going to add something to my agenda last minute. I had read something about Saudi Arabia potentially getting Royal Rumble or a future WrestleMania. When I saw this, that just completely made me mad. I understand Saudi Arabia wants to get wrestling near them. I understand. But Saudi Arabia is not the place for wrestling. If you go back and you watch Crown Jewel, they didn't care that Kairi Sane had made her return to the WWE. She anywhere else, this would have been huge. I mean, she was a big name before she left. I mean, it didn't get any louder than when it was before. If you were looking away, it wouldn't catch your ear because it didn't get any louder. It doesn't make any sense. So why would you want to? The Women's Royal Rumble recently has had a lot of big debuts, return. It's been a bigger Royal Rumble than the men's. With the Saudi Arabian crowd, no, you don't want anybody to have to return or debut under that crowd. They're gonna, no, oh gosh, please don't have a Royal Rumble there. You can't have a WrestleMania match there. The women's match is not gonna, crowds make these matches. That's why the coronavirus era didn't work, because the crowd wasn't there to hype up the matches. That's what has these matches going. So with a crowd like that, you're going to think we're sitting there without a crowd during these women's matches. Now, with some people, they get excited for, like their hometown people like Jinder Mahal, Sangha Veer Mahan, they go very good for them. There's a lot of people that they get loud for. Sami Zayn's one of those. But like any women's match, just no. It can be anybody. Rhea Ripley, they don't care about a single one of them. That's when they go get their snack breaks. And that's nothing against the country or anything, but if you can't care about women's wrestling, and women's wrestling is huge now, then you shouldn't have a WrestleMania. So do not send WrestleMania, Royal Rumble to Saudi Arabia. I already hate that Crown Jewel has to be there. I don't think any event should have to deal with that crowd. So, no. Next up, and this is the last thing on my agenda, I'm going to quit talking for a little bit. Next up, we got opinions on the Tonga Loa debut. I kind of already hit on it. It was very unexpected. In today's world of professional wrestling, it's hard to do anything without it being leaked. We're going to see it on Twitter. It's going to be posted out by somebody. And this did not get leaked. So when I saw him, I had known that Jacob Fatu was signed. But, so I thought it was Jacob Fatu, and then I look, that's not Jacob Fatu. But no, it's Tonga Loa. So they really did a good job of holding this. I had no idea at all that he would be making his debut. I'm for real. I had no idea at all, and I don't think anybody did. So that was kind of cool. I don't know how he's going to work with the crowd. I feel like he's just going to be a side kind of guy. I mean, that's just how it's going to be, I believe. I mean, Tonga even kind of seems like a side guy right now, which I knew he would. He's not going to lead the bloodline or anything. But, I mean, even Tonga Loa is a step below that. So, it really kind of changes the perspective of different things that could happen within the bloodline, because this family is humongous. But kind of while we were on that, we're talking about Jacob Fatu. I kind of read that Jacob Fatu is not coming to the WWE. He's already signed, but he hasn't made his debut because the WWE is scared that he is going to outshine Solo Sikoa. He's going to outdo Solo Sikoa, and it's going to mess everything up because Solo Sikoa is supposed to be the leader. And you want to know who called this? I don't know if I made a video about it, but I was talking to my dad, talking to some other people about, I think Jacob Fatu is better than Solo Sikoa. I think could be a bigger name than him. I think he could be a better leader. I would prefer him over him. And then now, here we go. Guess who called? I was kind of laughed about that. But I think that's how it is. Because Jacob Fatu is a much better in-ring performer, in my opinion. He's just very, very good. But he's got to come either way. One way or another, he's got to show up. But when will it be? That was a long agenda that I had today. Very cool stuff that we talked about. So just thank you all for watching. Like I said, I will try and get the podcast episode 3 out eventually. But yeah, I kind of got to wait for things to heat up in the wrestling business. I got to wait till some things happen so I can make a cool agenda and not have it all like repetitive stuff. I'm not going to repeat anything like that. So yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for listening to me talking this long. I'll see you guys.